Hello, Matt Elliott here.
Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
For all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels.
for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
Happen in 49, 61, 63 or 69 when they reach the final. But the class of 2021 have delivered. Leicester City are FA Cup winners at last and are history makers at Wembley.
They have blown their rivals away. They have blown us all away in truth. Premier League champions 2016. The amazing Leicester City.
Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
Right, Chris.
All right, good evening. How the devil are we all? And if you like How the Devil Are You, if you can, which way am I going? I never get this right. How the Devil Are You there? All available in www.leicestertillidie.com, a full range of LTID merchandise. That's the selling bit over. It's not Tuesday night, it's Thursday night because everything's been different with the football this week. But we're back with the Prediction League. And that's what we're concentrating on today. So let's first of all bring him in. I know he's not been watching the friendlies because he's pretty much like me on that. But ex-Fox, you'll remember him flying down the wing. Steve Lynex. Steve, good evening.
Good evening, all.
How the devil are you, sir?
On point, thank you.
Like I say, not like me, not an England fan for friendlies or even the World Cup for you.
No. I'm not an England supporter, to be honest. I am an English player, English person, but to watch England play, to me, it's going to be the same old story. Like we touched on earlier, you're going to get three easy teams to get through to the knockout rounds, and then we're going to go out first game.
I love your confidence in us. Almost as much confidence I had in Brad, who is fresh from his Mr. and Mrs. quiz, where he came out of 2 second. But I did like your strategy, Brad, of letting the missus win.
Yeah, mate. Good job you weren't here afterwards, mate. I've had arguments, I've had tears, and then when I calmed down, I rang Colin, and it was one of them, mate. I just love losing quizzes. Apparently, I'm really good at it. I'm about as good as quizzes. Apparently, as Iose Perez is affecting the game for Leicester in a positive manner.
You're not that bad, mate.
You're not
that bad. Come on, I love it. Yeah, but you must. I don't know if you're into sort of BDSM or anything, but you keep putting yourself forward for these quizzes.
Everybody has the kinks, don't they? And apparently being on quizzes and getting beat's mine. Who knew?
Well, each to their own. Welcome along. We've had a week off, so none of us did really, really bad in last week's predictions because there was none to get wrong. But let's have a look at what we've got coming up here. So it is the prediction show. Let me just bring myself down there to the bottom, as the actress said to the Archbishop, so that if any comments come up, I can hide them. I hide myself, sorry. This is how it stands. Last time wasn't the best of weeks. 2 weeks ago, 2, 2, and a 4. Not brilliant, but I tell you what, Brad, start looking over your shoulder. Steve's coming for you.
Yeah, I knew this was happening. All that at the start of the season, halfway mark, where it's going so well, and here we are at that point where it starts to go away from me.
You like to peak early, don't you? That's your trouble.
Yeah, I've done the Spurs, haven't I? I've put myself top of the league in September, and I've had to release the DVD before October started. It didn't last that long.
And Steve, you went for a Leicester Brentford draw. Was that your reverse psychology again?
It was, mate. Yeah. I've got to start picking up some points now. I think I've got to start picking the teams instead of like. But no, there again, I can't pick Tottenham again. I can't.
You can't pick Tottenham and Arsenal. You know, whatever happens, you can't pick them. But I was going to say some strange results the other week, but there always is this season. That kind of sums this season up.
Someone's mic's really crackling.
It might. Hang on 1 second.
Sounds like you're Chris. You sound awful, mate. My end. I don't know about you, Steve. How it sounds your end.
No, I think it sounds quite normal to me on this end.
Don't tell me it's mine.
And what's normal, Steve? For me, that's the question. But Scott, good evening, sir. How the devil are you? You're going to join in with the predictions. And talking of the predictions, let's go. Brad's gone, so we'll come back to him in a second. But the first game that's coming up is Liverpool versus Watford. I mean, you can just see there, can't you, Steve? I mean, looking at that, you've got to go Liverpool, or do you?
I've got to go Liverpool for the rest of the season. I think the only team that's consistent, even when they don't play well, they're still grinding the results out. I think, they can handle the pressure. They've got the players to handle the pressure, and I think they're going to thrive now towards the end of the season with the running.
It's meant for us neutrals. It's made us very interesting, hasn't it? As we were thinking a few weeks ago, well, it's just going to be Man City walking it, and then Liverpool come along and, like you say, make it interesting for us.
Yeah, I think Liverpool's done exactly what they do week in, week out. I think it's Man City that's caused their own problems. I think the pressure's on Man City more than Liverpool now. Any of the teams below, I can't see them doing anything. So I think Liverpool must quietly be thinking they've got it this year.
Welcome back, Brad.
Oh, this phone's on its way out, and I've still got about 8 or 9 months on this contract, so it needs to hold on a bit. It needs to stop trying to die on me.
Well, you need to stop throwing it at the wall.
Well, I told you, mate, after I did that, it was still working, so I rang Chloe. I'm fine now. Nothing. I didn't take it badly at all.
Hey, talk about taking it badly. I think Scott's. I don't know what you're drinking, Scott. Liverpool win maybe 3-9. Oh, I think he meant 3-0, as he said there. Steve's gone for Liverpool on this one, Brad. Can you see any other result? I mean, look at that form there. It's well, I can't see anything other than that. Can you?
No, not really. If this literally is probably, and I saw the rest of their fixtures for the remaining seasons and for both of them, and I just don't see Liverpool dropping points unless it's against Man City, and I think both teams are going to do that. It really is going to go down to that game. Whoever gets in front in that game is probably going to should hold on to first spot at that point, and I just can't see anything different here. I think the teams down at the bottom, like Burnley, Norwich, and Watford, had their mini revival. Didn't make anything stick. It's going to be a comfortable win for Liverpool. This.
Yeah, well, okay, so 2 for Liverpool. I mean, if you look at that though, Steve, back in February, and I've got to be honest with you, I can't remember who Watford's manager was then, but back in February 2020, Watford actually beat Liverpool. Was that when Nigel Pearson was in charge, Brad?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So I suppose, Steve, miracles do happen.
They can do, but I think when they last one with Pearson, I think that was a different team because Pearson plays in the aggressive manner. I don't think you're going to get that from a Watford this year, especially with the manager they got now. So I can't see him doing anything, to be honest.
No, I mean, I'm just looking there at Watford's last 5 games. I mean, they got they beat Southampton 2-1, but they lost to Wolves 4-0. They put up a good fight against Arsenal 3-2. They drew with Watford. And I think that's just it. When you're in Watford's position, and of course they lost to Palace, when you're in Watford's position, though, you need to start making these sort of like the 0-0s and what have you into wins, and you've got to be consistent, and that's just something they're not, is it?
They're not aggressive enough. I think that they're making a mistake of the top 6 teams where they're trying to play pretty football and trying to play possession football, and I don't think that's going to happen down the bottom of the league. I think you need to show some fight and make the games ugly, and I can't see what they're doing that.
Well, I'm going to go along with you two, surprisingly or not, go for a Liverpool win. Brad, I mean, if I'm not mathematically, but if they lose this, I can see it being a heavy defeat, to be honest with you, not just a 1 or a 2.
Yeah, again, like I said, I think that Burnley, Norwich, and Watford both have, all 3 of them, kind of at the desperate Dan kind of point, not started picking up points, and they've got off the boil, and then teams above them are now are picking up points.
Yeah,
Leeds got a much needed 3 points, didn't they, to give themselves a bit of breathing space. Everton will be hoping to get even a handful of points from their games in hand, just to really open up a gap and get them safe. I just think this is where they get the stuffing knocked out of them. I'm with you, Chris. I'm thinking more 4 or 5. I think this will be a cruise in. But at least Roy Hodgson's topped up his retirement fund. That's what it is.
Indeed. And of course, then you've got what it does to confidence, haven't you? But
yeah.
Does it hi to Miss Bellina? How the devil are you? Hope you're well, Mel. Static, good evening, and welcome along as well. And everybody else is just saying hello to everybody else. So, yeah, we've all gone for Liverpool win there. Now, this game is going to be interesting. I think Brad may have some sucking up to do here. I don't know. But it's Brighton against Norwich. Brighton, well, I mean, they are slowly sliding down the table. They're 13th now from when they were sort of, 6th, 7th not so long ago. Norwich, where they started off, still 20th. Previous games, loss for Norwich, loss for Norwich, loss for Norwich, loss for Norwich, loss for Norwich. And then we look at Brighton, they lost to Burnley, they lost to Villa, they lost to Newcastle, they lost to Liverpool, they lost to Top. This is going to be 0-0, isn't it, Steve? Last game on Match of the Day.
I don't think it's really, I don't know, it's hard to say the way the season's going, but I think Brighton's going to finish the run they're on, and I think, to be honest, I can see this being a 2 or 3-0 to Brighton.
Wow. Okay, so Steve has gone for Brighton. Now, Brad, do you want to give me one version in case your girlfriend's watching, and another version you want to PM to me and I'll put that one down, or do you have faith in Brighton?
My lawyers have informed me I'm contractually obligated to stop being a jinx, so I'm not going to go against or for Brighton. I'm going for a draw because I said they'd win, hoping to give them some boost to get a look through. Turns out I was jinxing them, so I tried reverse psychology. They're still lost. So yeah, I'm not saying evil. I'm sitting on the fence until further notice.
Well, it's one way of keeping hold of your crown jewels, isn't it?
It certainly is.
They played sort of in October, and it was 0-0 then. And that's when Brighton were doing quite well. I just don't know what's happened to Brighton. Can anybody tell me? I mean, they were doing really well. Potter was the next big thing. And all joking aside about Potter, he was being hailed as the new Messiah. And they do seem to have gone off the boil, Steve, don't they?
Well, I think that's when, you can call teams good teams and great teams. The great teams, when they're having a good run, they stay great. Brighton, they've had a great run. They're probably thinking they were a lot better and a lot, than they were. Then reality kicks in. They have a few bad results and the confidence goes. And that's what, defines a good team and a great team.
I mean, Brad, with Brighton, I mean, they are so close to being a good team, maybe 2 or 3 players short. It's the investment probably they're lacking.
They've had a change of system as well. Before they sold Dan Burn, they were playing a 5 at the back, which allowed Cucurella and Lamptey to get forward. So I've been informed by my other half that's a real stuttering point, and they haven't got or haven't had the likes of Webster available to them. So they've been suffering with their own injury problems, which hasn't helped. They probably just missed a vital period where they could have balanced that out and kept that ship afloat, just being in that top 10 finish. Unfortunately, with the way things are going, and maybe there's no time for them to adapt to its formation changes. We've seen, when Brendan's pressed with a formation style, whatever his circumstances were regarding needing to change a defensive style or not this season, we've seen the effects it's had on them us as a team. So, unfortunately for Brighton, it's a continuous knock-on effect, and they need that win. Before we've said, didn't we, before the Leeds and the Burnley games came up, there was some fans starting to question it, even looking at our fixtures, going, where are we going to get this next win? Because if we don't get it this week or next week, we're going to be in real trouble. And Brighton just need that to take the weight off their shoulders and maybe still make that top 10, because their early form has made sure that they're still not right out the touch. It's not a complete catastrophe. It's just the way the league's been going this season. A few points puts you 7th and a few points puts you 13th.
Yeah.
It's still
totally agree. In fact, I agree with you that much. I'm having to agree with you with the draw. I have a...
See, Steve, told you, you've not mastered that part yet.
It should be Brighton. I mean, I know they drew 0-0 earlier in the season, but then I would have gone for a Brighton win then, because Brighton were on a roll, and they can't beat Norwich when they're on a roll. Have they got the now? So it will be a true test, I think, for Potter, because Norwich need the points, and they're going to really be fighting, and it's whether Potter's going to be able to sort of break that down and get through the defences, because even a point for Norwich at this point would be good for them. But no, I've got to unfortunately agree with Brad and go for a draw there, and I don't think it'll be a high-scoring draw either. Just a quick question here from Scott. Hopefully one of you might have been able to answer, but what is the latest on Luke Thomas? I've no idea, mate.
I've heard apparently he got injured with the under-21s and he's missing for it.
Yeah. Spencer, good evening. How are you? Welcome along. Norwich win for you. So that could well happen. I mean, and again, we've got Ndidi injured. It doesn't get any better, does it, Steve? Let's just end it now. Just end it now, please. It's I've never known. Have you ever known a season like this for injuries?
It's a tester, but it's how the manager does things again, and how he either stays with what he's been doing the last 2 or 3 games, or he tries to change the system again. You go on about big squads. They should be able to cope.
Yeah,
there shouldn't be any weaknesses in the squad, to be honest. And the players that do come in, they should be able to do exactly what the players are doing on the pitch.
Well, we'll come on to his replacement later. So I think Brad and me agree on that as well. But the next game up, I was actually on Dan's channel earlier, who's the Burnley fan, and he's not confident at all about this. I mean, Burnley, just before we played them, like Brad said earlier, they had a lot of mini revival. That kind of I think that was their chance to actually get out of it. And I thought when they had a couple of wins, I thought, hello, here we go. Burnley going to do the usual, just get out the bottom. And it hasn't happened. And I don't see them getting anything here. Do you, Steve?
To be honest, I've got a soft spot for Burnley. And I think this can go either one or two ways. I think the game could be over within the first 20 minutes if they don't do right. But I think Burnley will make it tough for Man City. I think it's a game that suits Burnley, to be honest. I think they like teams that play in front of them. I think how Man City's going to play, and the longer you can keep them at bay, the chances you'll be able to get them on the break. So I don't think the pressure's on Burnley on this one. I think it's more on Man City. And if it's not over within the first 20 minutes, half hour, I think Burnley stand a good chance. So I'm gonna go for a Burnley draw. I'm not gonna say they're gonna win it, but
you're gonna go for a Burnley draw, or you're gonna go Burnley and Man City draw.
Burnley and Man City draw in this one.
No, it's a good point, and it's at Turf Moor, Brad. And Steve's got the valid point. Burnley are gonna they're a difficult team to beat anyway, and they're not exactly week in week out being stuffed. So I can see this being, and the longer it goes on, and Manchester City don't score, they're gonna say with Liverpool's form, they're gonna be really they need to score early, don't they?
I mean, even if Burnley were to take a shock lead in this game, I don't think it lasts. In fact, I'd be very, very, very surprised if it did last. I mean, what date is this game, Chris? What is the date of this game?
The date?
Yeah, what date is it? I don't know where I am with days. So
it's on Saturday, so it's on the 2nd of April. So
yeah, so 2nd of April. Note it down in your diary because I can see such a hammer in here that this is the gong is going to get banged on the relationship between Dyche and Burnley. This is where it gets laid to rest. I think this will be that. I've got no faith in Burnley being able to do anything other than sit there and take a beating by Man City. I'm sorry, I just can't even fathom Burnley getting a point.
So you're going for Man City win, I guess.
Yeah. just a smidge, mate. Just a smidge. Only by like
that feeling. Well, if you're watching, Dan, we love you really. But
love you, Dan. Just not your football team against Man City. Don't fancy the chances, mate.
I mean, Man City. Well, they beat Man United. just as you say that, welcome along from Turf Moor House TV. Welcome along, Dan. Good friend of the channel. Don't forget. I know you're not going to be interested in this, Steve, because you don't like the international football. But tomorrow at approximately 4:30. No, approximately at 4:30, we're going to be covering the World Cup draw. So me and Dan doing that together. So sorry that was bad timing there, Dan. I was hoping you might come in after that and not. We don't all feel like that, Brad. We do like Brad does. We do love you, mate. Steve Lynex, Clareton Blue Army. Spencer, I think Burnley will get something. Actually, as I was saying before you came in there, Dan, when you had your couple of wins before you played us, that was your chance to get it out. You got double for Chris Wood that you spent on Weghorst, is it? And you only spent half on Weghorst, so what's happened to the other half? You need to get a couple of players in, and I know it's gets we approach this guy, we approach that guy. Surely, Steve, when you look at these things, they should have. Yeah, we want to get this player, any football team. But if I can't get this one, you've got to have sort of 2 or 3 alternatives, surely.
Yeah, but you've got to look at modern football, the way things is going now. Is one player going to come in and change how they play? I don't think so. I think it's a beginning of the season thing or the end of the season where you get 2 or 3 players in, because I can't see the system changing enough to help one player, if that makes sense. No. So you need 2 or 3 to change the system altogether and have more attacking prowess and different directions away you go. But if you're just buying one player, you're still going to be playing the same way. Yeah. So it's not going to help. It's not going to help.
I agree with you there. Like I said, I just think they should have gone out and spent more, not just get one player in. They've got the money left over, get some players in, and because if they go down, they're going to really, really struggle. I mean, Dan said here we had 2 guys say yes to join and then pulled out last minute on the Orsic deal, which was confirmed that they needed the U-turn. It is hard, but it happens, like you're saying. You've got to have sort of backups. I'm a little bit of me says it's going to be a Man City stuffing. Sorry, Dan. But another part of me says, well, it's at Turf Moor, and you know what Burnley are like, and I mean, Man City. I mean, yes, they could only draw at Palace, but they did stuff Man United. But they only struggled to get one past Everton. Man City 2, Tottenham 3. They lost that one. But then, you look at Burnley. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to go for a draw. I do agree with you, Steve. I think because I know where you're coming from, Brad, totally. And if they get one, they could go ahead. If they get that early goal, it could end up being embarrassing.
Well, yeah, but this is where I'm just hoping that actually what is supposed to happen on paper actually happens, and that's just me chipping away at a couple of points at you today. There's just one, the normal happens. Man City thrash, and you two are going there. That's the last time I listened to Steve. So, pick up points. I'll let you do the take the risks at the top now, mate.
He's playing tactics here, Steve. We've got to gang up on him. But no, it's. I just think you're going to say, we've all said Liverpool surely are going to stuff Watford, and I just think that, the Liverpool's the early game. That's the other thing as well, because Liverpool are playing early.
What you've got to say over the last few weeks is that the pressure's on Man City now. It's not on Liverpool.
Yeah, that just makes them more ruthless, Steve. That's the issue. You don't want to play Man City when they've just taken the sting.
No, I think if you look at the latest results and that which they've had, it don't make them more ruthless. It makes them more agitated with each other. They're not as clinical. They try and play too much football. They try and score the perfect goal. And I think it's shown in the few games where they have dropped the points is that, have they got a plan B? Has Man City got a plan B?
Do they regret, or do you think they will regret not getting a striker in? You could. The argument is, well, without a striker, the top of the league and they're banging the goals in. But maybe on those games where they've not quite done it, do you think they're going to regret it, Brad?
No, not really. Is it really hard to regret finishing guaranteed second in the league? Let's face it, they're not going to go any lower than second to do. It's literally only Liverpool that are going to pick them title race. Look, like you said, they try and score the perfect goal, and I'll give you that. Granted, they do try and practically walk it in the net. And the best, most cleanest, crispest passes of that are usually midfielders. It's not usually your three up front or converting Sterling and Silva or whoever to be a inverted winger alongside a Gabriel Jesus or Aguero. So no, at the end of the day, everybody's waiting in bated breath to say that, aren't they? Every fan that hates Manchester City is waiting to go, well, if you bought a striker, you'd have won the league. Well, no, because what if their striker went on a goal drought? What if the striker didn't take off? And they could be third and miles off Liverpool. If anything, it's like they're kind of trying to peacock how big their squad is and how talented it is as individuals, because they've gone, we'd rather attack it through the midfield. I think it's something he used to do at Barcelona. But, well, obviously the big elephant in the room there, well, there's a tiny elephant in his actual height, but Messi aside, the rest of them were predominantly midfield-minded plays that they went through. So it's not something that Man City fans should be too unfamiliar with. You can't really fault it if they don't win the league. And they like Steve said, they have blinked more than Liverpool this season. Well, in this second half of it, especially, it looks like.
Well, to be honest with you, you've convinced me. I've changed my mind. I'm actually going to go for a Man City win, because I think, for me, just looking at it, I say that fact that the Liverpool game is the early game, so when they kick off Man City, they'll know, that Liverpool have probably stuffed Watford, and they will have to go for it.
And then you also take into the other half, if there is somehow going to be a shock in that game, it's going to fire Man City up even more to make sure they get the 3 points.
Yes, yeah. So
Man City won't go for it. They'll just do exactly what they do week in, week out. Possession.
No, they can destroy teams when they really, really are on fire, though, Steve. That's the issue. I understand what you're saying, but I just feel if they're on key and they know they can do this to Burnley, they will. But this season said it all. It has been weird. Watch us all be wrong. Honestly.
And Burnley get the win.
Burnley will win 4-0.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
yeah.
then I'll never back Man City again if that happens. If it's 4-0.
I'm not putting that up, Dan. I know Margaret Thatcher was not for turning, but I'm easily turned. Let me just say that. And Brad, are you wearing a Brighton training top? He said earlier.
No, you tell me. Are they sponsored by King Power and Adidas? No spoilers for the quiz, but I definitely know they're not sponsored by Adidas.
No. It will be interesting to see if Brad gets some Brighton and Hove underwear for his birthday. I hope not, because if it's like Brighton, they'll be going down a lot. Hey. Right. So, yeah. Let's go on to the next game, which is Chelsea-Brentford. I mean, a lot of these, when you look at them, apart from the Brighton one, all the top teams you would say on paper have got easy games. Brentford started off well. I think they're kind of coming to sort of realise that the Premier League is hard, and they haven't had sort of the maybe like the Leeds did when they came up, or the Sheffield United. They haven't kept it up, and they haven't stayed sort of as high as they did for so long. But I still like Brentford. I still think they will stay up. I still think they're the best of the three teams that came up. And if you look at that, Steve, I mean, we beat them 2-1, but they didn't capitulate at all. And you've got 3 goals of the season in one game there. But they managed to beat Burnley. They managed to beat Norwich, lost to Newcastle, lost to Arsenal. They're winning the games they need to be winning. No disrespect, Dan. But can you see Brentford getting anything from this?
I think there's always a lot of banana skins after international breaks. So I think this Saturday and this weekend there could be a few banana skins. I can't see Brentford running away with it, but I can see them giving Chelsea a hard game. But there again, it's what Chelsea team turns up.
Yes.
If they get the possession one that play in front of you, that might suit Brentford. But will Chelsea be clinical and want to win the game? How many players are coming back fresh? How many players are coming back tired? So, on that, just purely on that reason, I think as well, because the team's down at the bottom, I'm going to go for a draw on this one.
Yeah, for a draw again for this one. I mean, Chelsea did only manage the 1-0 over them back in October, Brad. And if you're looking at Chelsea's form, they're just doing what you can't argue with their form. That they've won 5 in a row.
No, and sometimes it's not all about being pretty and beating teams 4-5-0 every week. We remember, don't we, Chris and Steve? We went through that infamous period where we couldn't do anything but win 1-0 near that back end of the season where we went on to win it. And obviously Chelsea won't do that this season, but you look at the results. I mean, didn't concede against Spurs, didn't concede against Palace, didn't concede against Burnley. All right, they let one in against Norwich. That happens every so often. But again, didn't concede against a reborn again Newcastle. And to me, this is the bigger difference between Brentford and the likes of Leeds, Norwich, and I forgot Leeds, Norwich, and Burnley. We just discussed them. That's how bad it's.
They're easily forgettable, aren't they?
Yeah, I know. These 2 results, and I should know it because I'm about to make the point. The 2 results that are the most pivotal in there, and the ones that mattered the most are the. And I know it might sound obvious because they won the games, but the ones they wanted to win out of them 5, they won. Like you said, Chris, they beat Norwich, they beat Burnley, they beat the teams around us. And to be fair, with the greatest of respect to Brentford in that second half, we didn't do ourselves any favours, and that was very noted by Brendan. The players we seem to be in that 2-0 zone, take the foot off the gas a little bit, and. To be fair, 3 worldy goals like you would, and if he didn't hit that in, it was probably one of them games where realistically we could have come away from that saying, yes, we took our foot off the gas, but they could have been playing for another 90 minutes and shouldn't have scored. But it was a very good goal they scored. I think maybe Brighton now have got them 2 wins. They're slipped instantly back into that comfort because they were poor that first half against
Brentford, do you mean?
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what's going on in my brain.
Yeah, well, you just got Brighton on the brain, obviously.
I have,
We
mate.
understand that.
I have. I have. There's too
He's
many
in love,
Bs.
Steve. He's in love.
There's too many B-League teams in this league. They're all confusing. But yeah, I think Brentford may have slipped back into that slump because they were poor against us realistically in that first half. I don't remember hearing them creating anything of the sort in that first half. And if they do that against Chelsea, even lackadaisical Chelsea should get this win. And I think that's going to be the case. I think Chelsea will win this, especially being at home.
Oh, so you've gone for a Chelsea win. It's another one of those for me. I'm going to have to agree with you, Brad. Again, I think Chelsea were. I'm tempted with the draw, but I just think Chelsea, it's the business end of the season now. I mean, you'd think they were pretty much safe in third because nobody seems to want to take the bull by the horns and take that fourth place. I think it will be tight again, but I'm going to go for a Chelsea win. If it had been at Brentford, then I might have gone, the other way. But it's at Chelsea, so I'm going for a Chelsea win, as did indeed Scott. But Spencer agreed with you, Steve, and he's gone for the draw. You do realise, Brad, this is the week possibly when we get everything wrong. Steve gets everything right and takes the lead.
Yeah, that's fine. And Steve can transfer that £100 into my PayPal account for psyching you out, so Steve can win it.
And I'm going to say hello to my daughter, who you may know I now call the Ice Queen. Just remember, next time you get me a drink, Heather, less ice, please.
Yeah,
less
God,
ice.
do you want some drink with that ice, Heather? That was.
Yes. Yeah, when you press the buttons on the ice machine, take your finger off and then it stops. Keep your finger on, it just keeps coming out. So how I'm cold, Heather, but it was lovely to see you the other day. I'm a year older. Nobody said I don't look it, so I won't bother asking. So the next game, Leeds versus Southampton. Now then, Steve, this is. Oops, let me add that back in. There we go. This is. I like Southampton, and they've played really well. I mean, it's 11th against 16th. Southampton won earlier in the season, but they've lost they've lost 3 on the trot. They beat Southampton and Norwich. Are we seeing a Southampton slump here?
Well, I think Leeds need the points more. I think they're at home as well, so I think you see a different Leeds this weekend. I think they need to get a few points in the bag to pull away from the bottom. Southampton are on a good run, but Leeds at home, tough one. So I'm going to go for Leeds.
Leeds. Brad, I mean, Leeds beat Wolves 3-2, Norwich 2-1, which they again, these are the games they need to be winning. They lost to Villa, they lost to us, and of course they had that big loss to Tottenham before changing the manager. Are Leeds going to survive? Are they going to get the result they need here?
It's annoying, isn't it? You remember? Can we not go back to about 3 weeks ago when we were rubbing around at the idea that one of Everton, Leeds, and Newcastle could go down, if not 2 of them? That was the fun times. That was when football was fun, wasn't it? When we looked at one of them teams and thought one of them could go down. And unfortunately, I think you're right. I think Leeds got that fire to win. How they did it, I don't have a clue. I mean, I do have a clue. I do know how it happened. I knew that Wolves went down to 10 men. That's still debatable whether that was a second yellow or not, but it's done with now. But I remember, I was watching it. I watched the first half and I went off to go and watch something else. And safe in the knowledge that Wolves were cruising to a lovely home victory and that was going to further drag Leeds into trouble. And then I let out a few expletives when someone told me and showed me the proof that it was 3-2 to Leeds and they'd turned it around. And I just think that's annoyingly, and I say annoyingly because I really wanted a bigger team or a bigger team that haven't won anything years but are still a big team to go down this year. And it doesn't look like it's going to be the case. So, and I think Southampton are in that holiday mode. They're not going into Europe. They're not in any cup competitions, I believe. I don't know if they're still in the FA Cup. I don't think they are. If they are, then I stand corrected. But they're not going down. They're not breaking into Europe. The holiday's already getting planned. And I think Leeds get the 3 points. That will probably ease their risks even more of relegation. It will ease the pressure on it.
I mean, I look at this one, and it's two teams I quite like. I've got nothing against either of them. I want Southampton to stay up because it is a game I can get to and go and watch just down the road from me. Leeds, I can say I've said in previous weeks, I remember when we were playing them in the third tier, and as I don't, hear their fans going, "Oh, we're back where we should be," and all this. I'm going to differ from you two guys. I'm going to go for the draw because I think, like you said, Leeds are fighting, but they're just. I don't know. Again, I'm useless at this. I'm going to stick with a draw. I think it's going to be a draw. I just think Leeds won't quite have enough. Southampton need the win. I mean, they're safe, like you say, but. I think they might just use this game to start to turn things round. We've got Scott went for Southampton win. Spencer's gone for a Leeds win. Scott says, I like the gung-ho style Leeds play, but can't stand dirty Leeds. Well, I mean, that was then, this is now. But I know what you mean, Scott. I do know what you mean. So that one will be in. That's the first one we've really, nobody's agreed with me. But the next one we've got coming up here, then, Steve, is Wolves versus Aston Villa. How do you see this one going?
Local derby. I think Wolves are going to be wounded from the Leeds result. I don't think he's going to fire them up. I think it's going to confuse them a bit. Villa, I think they've stumbled over the last few games, and I can't see them taking Wolves apart on this one. Local derby, Wolves down, Villa playing the way they are. This I can see being another draw as well.
You're going for a draw for this one. Okay. I mean, Brad, it's 8th versus 9th. They haven't... I love the pose, Brad. I love the laid back. I'm just taking this so easy here. It's almost like you're going to sort of click your fingers and go, Chloe, get me a drink. Thank you.
Oh, God, no. You see that clap, you see the screen fade to black, and you won't hear from me again if I did that.
But I mean, Villa, yes, they've kind of improved. Well, they have improved, obviously, under Gerrard, but he lacks the consistency this season for me. But he's got Coutinho in. Wolves won the meeting earlier in the season, and that was at Villa. Who's your money on for this one?
I mean, the Wolves Leeds result seems like a bit of a freak accident in a way. Like it really did. You sometimes see a team on a run like Wolves are, where they're doing quite well in the league, they're quite high up, and they're having a good season again. I mean, I'm just looking at their results, but they're a bit. These two teams do have one thing in common, and looking at their slip of results. I mean, West Ham, in the great respect, haven't been in greatest of form. They're probably another one in this bracket. 2-0 shot lost to Palace. Yeah, all right. Then they got the easier win against Watford. Then they struggled to beat Everton or in free fall.
Yeah.
Villa are also very hot and cold, but for that reason, I'm kind of thinking this ends in a draw as well. I actually think this might be one of them entertaining 0-0s. You know that one that's second to last on match today because it's more entertaining than the boring one. That's exactly what I'm saying. This one will be.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I mean, Wolves are flattered to deceive for me this season. We'll say good evening to Rennie. How the devil are you? Welcome along. And I thought Wolves might just sneak that, a European place. And again, they're proving that nobody wants it this season. Villa. I mean, for me, Scott says it all, hoping for a draw for this result because if Leicester can win, that would be the best sort of result for us. I mean, there's that said, between 8th and 9th, and I'm just checking this here. There's 10 points between 8th and 9th. That's a lot of games, but then Villa have got a game in hand. We've got 3 games in hand. It's anywhere. But I'm going to have to agree with you two and go for the draw, and 3 draws across the line there.
See how he's playing this tactical, Steve. He's got this wild, audacious tactic, wild, audacious predictions in a mass panic to catch up. And now he's top. He's like, if I just match them all, I can never lose it. Boo, gamesmanship
Excuse me, Leeds, Southampton.
Yeah, all right,
that was different from you. The others, I must admit, I'm quite. I'll tell you what, I'll go first on the next one then, because of course
this is where we copy him, Steve.
It is, of course, Manchester United versus Leicester City. If you're going to say 2 teams that have shown that they can be consistently inconsistent this season, this is the one. Man United, for me, I just think they're so badly run at the moment. They've got owners that don't seem to know what they're doing, despite the fact that they've got sports clubs in America that they own. But, they get rid of a manager. They haven't got a manager in place. They're not going to get a manager till the end of the season. So they bring somebody in that's only going to be a part-time manager that doesn't players aren't going to respect because they know he's not going to be their boss next year. And with the team that they've got, they should be way out on top. I remember saying at the start of the season, Manchester United don't win something with the team that they've got this season, Ollie will go. Well, Ollie's gone. He's no longer at the wheel. Ralph's at the wheel, and he's taking them down the same road. There's nothing there to. I just don't see what the improvement's been. I really don't see what the improvement's been. If you're going to replace a manager, you've got to show signs of improvement. If that's why it's like we got rid of Ranieri because he wasn't pulling the results in. Craig Shakespeare came in. We stayed up. We turned things around. We got through to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. You need to see something different. And Manchester United just haven't done that for me. They couldn't get past Watford. They haven't. They struggled past Tottenham. They got stuffed by Man City. Okay, they beat Leeds, they beat Brighton, but then you'd expect them to do that. I am going for a Leicester win here because I just think we're on the up. I think the break will do us good. Yes, we've lost Ndidi. I don't think it's that big a problem because we said earlier, Brad, when we were tweeting, we've got Mendy and he's come in, and I've always liked Mendy, and thank God we didn't sell him.
Yeah, so I said that. We've also got Samore as well. It was a summer acquisition, and we could always just make it a flat 3 instead of having that defensive midfielder 3. It's not a necessity. I know it's more of a comfort, and it is a comfort. And obviously, bigger teams like Liverpool, they tend to use it. City used it a lot when they had infamously like Yaya Toure down. Probably still use it to some degree now. I don't know. I'm not. I don't really care too much for them, but I know that's what they used, how they used to go about it, But yeah, the squad has got a good depth to it in terms of its quality. So I don't think there's that panic around fans going, "Oh God, who's it going to be? Is it going to be really, Godfrey Gazelle and all them players when we had them there? Who's it going to be? Because they're not that good. We've got a good depth in squad." My only issue is, and I did a podcast earlier and I was asked about it, as it is, you can see with the way Fofana played probably more minutes than anyone was expecting. I don't think anyone expected to see Fofana do 70 minutes against Rennes.
No.
I think people maybe thought he'd get 45 here and then maybe 60 against Brentford and it'd see into the international break. I think the approach has been changed where the case is get as many minutes as we dare out of them. And because he knew the international break was coming up and he had more time to recover and gain more fitness. Because people forget, when we get told they're fit, they're not always actually fit. They're medically cleared to play football.
Not match fit, as they used to say.
Yeah, as the term is, that they're match fit. Doesn't mean they're 100% back to full fitness, but they are available to play that game. And I think having Fofana back for this game, there's talk that Johnny Evans will feature at some point as well. Brendan said in a press interview. we've coped without big players this season at points when it's been someone like Ndidi and Vardy. Feels like the bug's been passed on to the midfield with the injuries we've got, but there it is. Don't know if Vardy will be available, but again, I know we've got 3 games in hand on the team in like 8th and 7th, but we're also, like you said, 10 points off them. I think the only issue I have with putting my neck on the line and saying that Leicester are going to win is I do think, whether you like to admit it or not, the easier and the more likely achievement is Leicester win 5 games in Europe and get into Europe by winning the Europa League Conference, more than there is going on a 7-game win, getting 7 wins out of these last 10, 11 games and somehow sneaking in 7th. I think he'll try and balance returning players in between the Manchester United, the PSV, and the Crystal Palace game that's in between them. And I don't know if we'll see Vardy back. Our record at Old Trafford is also not brilliant. So for that reason, I am going for the draw. I think we can sneak something, but I just don't think we'll get the win.
And that was a short answer, Steve.
Yeah, it was. You wait for the hour-long prediction one where I give it myself.
He's still with us, Steve. Wake up. No, joking. Steve, I mean, Vestergaard scored midweek for Denmark. Brad did have to say that he had to check it wasn't an own goal, but he did score. Everton apparently are after Vestergaard. Evans could be back. What a great game for Evans to come back for.
I think this game just boils down to Brendan Rodgers. I don't think it should be made a tactical game. I think it should be made an attitude game. And the attitude should be to ruffle Man United, to get in the faces, to make it frustrating, because the only one you've got with a bit of backbone in the Man United team is McTominay in midfield. If you look at the rest of them, they're all big time boys. And if you can frustrate them, get into them, they can't play. They'll argue with the referee, they'll argue with each other. Everything will go out the window. And you should make it easy. But if Brendan doesn't do that, Man United, they'll play like as they are, the big time boys, and they'll play with a bit of authority and pass the ball around.
Yeah.
So the only thing you can say in your meeting against Man United, make it hard, get in the face, make them look, small players instead of big time charges. And I think that's the attitude that Leicester should go out with, not a tactical one, but an attitude one. And if the attitude's right, the result will be right. But saying that, I'm going for Leicester.
We're going for Leicester. Oh, right, guys, put your money on Man United.
yeah.
Purely if the attitude's right.
Yeah. No, we haven't. They haven't beaten us. They haven't beaten us in 4 games. It started with a draw back in on December, Boxing Day, 2020. Then we beat them in the FA Cup, and we've beaten them 2-1 and 4-2 in our last 2 meetings. So it's all I can say looking good, but it's a case of, for me, I just think it's that say confidence, but it's almost ours to lose, if you like, and that they might disagree. Good morning from Sydney, Australia. Good morning. You're only coming up as Facebook user, so I don't know who you are, but good day, as they say. Luca, good evening. How the devil are you? Anthony will ask the question at the end. Cheers, mate. But welcome along. Thanks for joining us. We haven't got to your game yet, so that will be interesting. And I think, just a lot of hellos and what have you in there. So there's only Brad that doesn't. Nobody thinks Man United will get anything. That's interesting. Can I just ask you, basically, both of you on this? We'll come to you first, Steve. Maguire getting booed at Wembley?
I think he deserves it. You can't keep on wrapping players in cotton wool. If you're going to keep, not giving any players any stick when they need it, they're never going to get any better. Yeah. And I think the boos should, if Maguire's a bloke that he should take into account saying, look, I'm not playing very well. I need to do something different. rather than carry on the way he is. So I'm Mr. Big, I don't care, because that's the attitude he's coming across with. It's making him lazy. It's making him look like no disrespect, it's making him look like a donkey. Now he should be like, and that's the reason with the attitude he's now. If you can get at him and get at him and get at him, he's a weakness. But he's got to look at himself. You play for a big club. You paid a hell of a lot of money a week. People are allowed to do you. People are allowed to swear and do it. Yeah, that's part and parcel of the job. Now, if he can't handle it, he's not the player he thinks he is. Now, the only way he's going to show it is by taking it all on the chin and then playing some great football. And then you'll say to yourself, you'll hold your hands up and you'll say, fair play to you. But
I mean, a lot of players do go through bad stages in their careers, but I do feel, and you mentioned there, Steve, that they're almost wrapped in cotton wool. We can't say how we, as fans, we daren't say, you're not playing well or something. I mean, I know we've got social media, but even taking social media aside, at the games, booing. I mean, and I hate to say sort of in your day, but in your day, Steve, you would have taken it on the chin, wouldn't you? Said, right, I'm going to prove to them.
I think you've got to look at life in general. You just see the new laws passed that you can't smack kids and that and things about anymore. But if you grow up like from our age and our group, the discipline was discipline, and it made you a better person. But if you've got no discipline, you think you can get away with it, everything week in, week out, which the way modern life is going, and there's too many snowflakes about. There's going to be weaknesses all the time, and that's a problem. You've got to be able to give out a bollocking. You've got to be able to accept one, and if you can't do that, then you shouldn't be in the public eye.
I love you, Steve. You just totally agree with me on everything.
It's true, though. I think there's a lot of people listening and watching. They'll think the same. They'll think the same way. It's like fighting a war with no bullets in your gun.
Yes, yeah,
and
definitely.
And that's happening a lot lately. And I think it's ruining the modern thing. There's too many things now where you could say one comment before years ago which wasn't offensive, but now it's took offensive. And I think that's happening in life all throughout. But he's a big boy. He's played big bucks. It should get under his skin and say, right, there's a few 100 million people out there that think at the moment I'm a donkey. I'm going to prove him wrong. If he doesn't, then he stays a donkey, and that's how it is.
Yeah. Brad, I mean, is it a case of he's paid the money, he should be able to take it? As a footballer, what's going to happen. You're going to go back sometimes to a club you've played for, or a club where you've hurt one of their players, that you're going to get booed. You could say, argue, well, it's England. He's never particularly done anything bad for England, but do you feel were the fans right to boo him?
I'll be honest with you. I don't care for international friendlies. I don't watch them. I don't know anything about this Maguire in particular getting booed. I need a bit of context for it. Was he booed every time he touched the ball, or what?
As far as I know, because I'm like you and Steve, none of us actually probably watched it. I didn't watch it because it was my birthday and I was out. Although people think I should have been doing a thread, Brad. But
well, it's these Tuesdays and Thursdays. I've got them muddled up in my head, right?
No, I didn't watch. As far as I understand it, or as far as I've seen, he got booed when he the name was announced.
Right. See, I don't think that's a direct at Harry Maguire in the sense of him as a person they don't like. I think it all depends on the context, and without knowing it, I can only give my hypothesis, or I'm trying to use fancy words. It's these glasses to make you think I can say fancy words, you know what I mean? But I'm just trying to be more photosynthesis about my words these days. Anyway, that was a bad joke. Move on from that.
It was. I'll come back. I'll play that one back and try and work it out.
No, but I can see the frustrations, and I think because he's an £80 million defender, which he's not. They pay him from when he's been made captain of Manchester United, which no matter how good or bad Manchester United's doing, it is a big deal to be given the honour of captaincy of any club, let alone whether you're Man U or not. But he's also then a regular for England, which he was a regular for England at Leicester. But everything's so amplified, and I think the fact that Southgate, to my knowledge, from what I saw, has the cheek to apparently come out and say, "Oh no, I picked my players on their form." When Maddison's top of the stats from midfield, and Barnes is like 5th on that list and can't get a look in. I'm kind of grateful, to be honest with you, with our injury list. I
agree with you. I agree with you.
They get to play their flag golf or whatever we've got in our state-of-the-art stadium training. And I think fans maybe more frustratedly vented their boos at a big bullseye. He's a Manchester United player. A lot of money was spent on getting him. He's their captain. He's supposed to be a strong leader at the back. He's having a torrid season. And lo and behold, Love Child gets picked by Southgate. I think from what I'm hearing and what you've just told me, it sounds more like fans were saying, right, when Maguire gets picked, we're going to use that to vent our frustration more towards a player that shouldn't get picked because his form's been terrible over others that people think should have been picked, more than I hate Maguire as a person. I think it's by the sounds of things.
Let's be honest, Brad. I mean, it was at Wembley, so it was probably full of Man United fans being.
Yeah, it was probably why he got booed as well.
England squad for the World Cup. The England squad for the World Cup will be exactly the same squad it was for the Euros.
Yeah. But this isn't anything new, Steve. How many times have we seen England manage to do this? They'll take all right, I won't use Vardy, even though he was played out of position because he did go to tournaments. I say like a Ricky Lambert or a player like that, or a Defoe or somebody like that. It's almost like a child. It almost feels like a player like that doesn't get rewarded with their England call-up. It almost feels like the parents finally sick of hearing the children nag about their mate not being allowed around the house because he's a troublemaker, and they have him round for one night and then that's it. You never allowed him round again. It feels like these sort of groups of players that fall into that caliber, like the Defoes, like I said, with the Ricky Lamberts and that, and to a point Vardy was as well. Where they kind of, it's just like whoever's in charge at that particular point goes, "Oh, fine, here you go, have your international cap now, get off the back so I can play my favourites." You know what I mean? It reminds me.
He'll take 5 right backs and 4 centre halves, and then he'll play.
Yeah, and play one of them in goal and one of them up front and one of them on the left wing. It's ridiculous, Steve. But
I mean, Steve, do you think, Steve, that as a manager, not an England manager, but as taking it back to his club, Ralph, is this one of these points where maybe they should take him off and take him out of the limelight for a few weeks, or like you say, should it be a case of you're big enough, you're ugly enough, go out there and prove yourself?
So you got two sides of it. You've got the manager, what you've just said about the manager, he should be taking him out. But the player himself, he should be doing something extra to get out the way he's playing, and he's not. And he knows that week in, week out, he can carry on playing the same way, he can carry on making the same mistakes, that he'll always be in the team.
Yes.
And then, and I can't understand why these clubs have got so many big squads, but they still persist in playing the same players week in, week out that are not playing.
I think with Manchester United career, and people might say, "Oh, well, what a cop out of a way to fix it. It won't always stick to anything." I don't think people understand. And I just briefly, because I'm a cricket fan, I'm saying the same about Joe Root, who's a marvellous cricketer, but he can't handle it, and that's the responsibility of captaincy. He wasn't a captain for us. He wasn't a captain for Hull. He was never a captain at Sheffield United, to my knowledge. At one of what's perceived to be one of the biggest clubs in the world, whether that's on a financial scale or whether that's on a global knowledge scale, or regardless of what they're doing in the league, I don't think he's got that right mentor to be a captain. I think he needs that mental break and be allowed to concentrate on his own game. And sometimes with certain players, you want to give them that responsibility because they tick all the boxes, but they just can't do it, put it into practice. Maybe the thought of the fact that because they paid so much for him, they felt the necessary to make him a captain because it's more common to have a
Well, I
defender.
don't. Yeah, I mean, I think Pep proves there. You know, you pay £100 million for a player, doesn't guarantee you're going to start every week. But Steve Scott says there, I was going to say, didn't Leicester fans not so long back do a similar thing to Vestergaard when he was being subbed on? Yes, Scott, very good point. They did. I mean, you know, you can't. No, don't live in glass houses, I guess, is the saying for that.
The difference is Vestergaard was signed as a backup all along. Harry Maguire wasn't. They didn't pay 80 million to have Harry Maguire sit on the bench and come in when needed. And only stepping for injuries. They paid 80 million for a starter that was going to strengthen their back line. Not.
I agree. Steve, sorry, you were going to say?
Sorry, Steve.
I was just saying, you've got a player like that in every club. That's seen different to the fans' perspective of how they are. But then you've got to take into other accounts, is the tactics right for him at the moment under Brendan Rodgers? You don't know. They must have saw something in him when they brought him. But time will tell. He's got to do the same thing as well. He's got to look at himself. He's got to be hearing and feeling whatever people are saying about him. So, does he need to look at himself like every other player and say, look, are 100,000 people right or are they wrong?
Yeah.
So
a quick change then over to another player, but this time a Leicester City player. Brad, just a quick answer, if you can do. Indeed is out. Mendy or Chowdhury?
Mendy. I do like both of them, but I just feel for this game, the more experienced one, for the approach of how Brendan approaches away games as well. Chowdhury is a bit more higher on the tempo. Brendan likes to give the game 20 minutes to settle in and judge his opponent, it seems, when we play a team like this. So for me, someone of Mendy's calibre and the way he kind of pings the passes around, he doesn't drive forward or sit too deep. He kind of just sits in that middle frame and pings the ball around. So for me, it's Mendy for the time being. We'll see how he goes.
I mean, Mendy, at one point when we signed him, was our most expensive signing, and yet he was nearly out the side nearly out the club in the transfer window, had it not fallen through. I love him as a player, and I'd love him to stay and be part of the squad. Now, whether that will be enough for him, is he at the World Cup? I'm not sure whether he's qualified for the World Cup or not. I can't, haven't checked, but he's obviously won, the African Cup of Nations. So, do you go for the youth with Chowdhury?
I'd go for somebody that's going to be aggressive and niggly. You look at, you go back to the game when Leicester played Man United and everybody performed 100% and it was a great game. And I think that's the attitude that you've got to take to Man United again. Yeah. But it all depends on how people feel inside and how they want to get on themselves. You can't bring in two different style players and ask them to play in the same kind of tactics.
No.
You have to have some difference. And if a guy that's got a different way of playing to what certain managers' tactics are, he's going to struggle and the team are going to struggle.
Yeah.
So you've got to get players into positions where they're playing to the strengths rather than playing to a system.
Yeah.
And I think when clubs and football start to figure that out, I think you'll see a big change in football.
Very, very good point. I mean, I think Chowdhury's improved. I don't think he's got the red card in him as much as he used to. I'd love. Scott said, I agree, Scott. I love both players. Chowdhury, I don't agree with that bit, but yeah, I think both players. I'd love to have them both in the squad. I just think Mendy, like Brad said, he does ping it about a bit more. Either or, if he picks either of them, I would understand. But for me, I hope we keep Mendy. I hope he doesn't go. Brendan's making the noises now, like, glad he's here and he's got a part to play, etc. And it was a shame we couldn't have him in the squad, for the first half of the season. So stranger things have happened that that he will become a regular. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. You can never predict Brendan, can you? Now, going back to what we're here for, which is the predictions. I wish I hadn't asked about Harry Maguire now. But we've got West Ham hosting Everton. West Ham, Steve, another team that seems to sort of not like to be in fourth place. They seem to be throwing it away. But my God, I've got to give West Ham credit, and I've got to give David Moyes credit. I thought they'd be back down the bottom this season, and he's not. He's kept them there on a really small squad, and he's got them to the quarterfinals of the Europa League against an Everton side. Well, you know, they make Man United and Leicester look like they're having a good season, don't they?
Well, West Ham, they're having a typical Leicester season, aren't they? I don't think at the beginning of the season they thought they'd do exactly the way they've been playing and the results they'll be getting this year. Everton need the points more, and I think that's going to be a hump on the back because it's going to make it harder for them because they know they've got to get the points. West Ham will just carry on playing the way they've been playing week in, week out. And I think it's be too hard for Everton this game, purely on because they need the points. And there's going to be that, bit hesitancy and whatever. And West Ham will just carry on with the season they've been doing and just, get to it. I think West Ham will win it.
West Ham. Brad, I mean, Everton, they're down there. They are going to have to be looking over their shoulders. Yes, they've got games in hand. They've got 3 on Leeds who are above them, and they've got 2 on Watford who are below them, but they've got the same number of games that Burnley have. They managed to get, I was surprised, I think it surprised us all that Everton won, Newcastle 0. But, I mean, Tottenham took them to the cleaners. Wolves and Man City just sneaked past them. Southampton did the job. But West Ham, I look, as I said, hats off to them this season. But they need that bit more consistency, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And it seems extremely harsh to say that to a club that's so high up in the league and, taking our spot that we held for 2 seasons of muscling away in between that top 6 seems very harsh and critical, isn't it? It needs to be a bit more consistent when we're sat down there in 9th going, in 10th going, be more consistent, West Ham. It don't feel right either. Yeah. But I think they've managed to ride that wave. I know, I'm just double checking there. Yeah, so I know they got beat by Tottenham a bit easy for Tottenham that game in the end, which was probably a bit of a shock in the way they lost that game to Tottenham. But they've rid that wave when it looked like it was falling away from them. They've picked up points and kept themselves in there, still in that mix for a top 5. I think the problem is just like they're just like us at this moment, but theirs is probably harder. They don't know whether to stick or twist in terms of do they just keep going and then have a season where maybe they lose in the quarterfinals or even the semi-finals and they go and finish 5th and they go, all right, well, at least, them players are knowing they're going to get another crack at this. I don't know. I wouldn't like to put that chance out there. Are they going to switch their attention to let's go for this Europa League, let's try and win as a European Cup? It'd be interesting to see what they do over the next few weeks. However, a blip on the radar. It was probably a shock that Everton actually held on and kept a clean sheet more than anything against Newcastle. Yeah. It's kind of a little bit nice. Come too late to keep them in the relegation fight that Newcastle have started to drop a few points. But this is almost a free hit if you look at who Watford and Burnley are playing, because you kind of just sense that they need a game where they just take a different psychological look at it. I think they'll frustrate West Ham, but I only see one winner, and it's not Everton. West Ham for me. I just think they got too much about them. I think it was just a little blip, a little glimpse. That'll be. Yeah.
Scott says here, West Ham to slaughter Everton, in his opinion. I remember when going back to the start of the season, I remember we did a show I was on the West Ham channel, and they were comparing, I don't know, I've said this before, but they were comparing West Ham this season to Leicester when we won the league, and could they do it or whatever. And, they're now 8 points off 4th place, and I know they got games in hand and people have played different games, but you've still got to win these games. It's the old saying, isn't it? You should have the points on the board. They have dropped off. They thought they would possibly with the size of squad they've got, but I still think they're going to get in. The top 7 gets European, so I still think they're going to get that. But they dropped off sooner than I thought. But for me, I can't argue with you guys. It is got to be West Ham. I just see. I don't like, you can, I want to see Everton go down. I'm going to be honest with you because I like to see the big club struggle every now and again, as you know. But
I've got nothing against Everton, but like you just said, out of the bottom clubs down there, it would be nice to see them go down.
Yes,
purely to show the higher, the people top of in the Premier League and whatever is that how many millions and millions and millions of Everton spent over the last few years to be in the predicament they are now. And it might be a message to all the other clubs is that we can't keep throwing money at, football, especially the way things are going. People are not going to be able to afford to go to many games and that now the way things are. And they've got to start thinking, stop throwing money at it, start looking down at grassroots, getting younger players, getting, local players in and make it interesting for people. Because I think, like you say, the teams down the bottom, it's always the teams down the bottom all the time, and everybody's getting fed up with the same teams down the bottom, the same teams at the top. So it would be good for football, like you say, for a big team like that to go down and to see all the money that they've wasted. And it might put a curb on something that is spiraling out of control.
I mean, I always say, Brad, that one of the best things that happened to Leicester for me was us actually going down to the 3rd tier, because it was almost like, we're down here now, we can clear it out the way, let's get rid of the driftwood and let's start again. So it might not be a bad thing for Everton.
I mean, it might not be. I mean, you're quite right. It's funny, isn't it? I mean, it's never nice and it's very painful to be a fan that watches it. But I remember originally saying when it happened, you remember when we spent about 3 or 4 seasons? It felt like an eternity, I'll be honest with you. We only spent about 3 or 4 seasons where we were like 15th, 14th, 16th in the Championship. And I got to a point where I was like, just go down. And I know that sounds awful. You should never think that about your own team. But sometimes you don't understand the world good it does, because you look at that Everton squad and there's probably six names in that Everton squad that you look at and think, you are not the sort of player that should be setting up in August thinking, I can't wait for Millwall on a Tuesday night. You are good. You have the ability within you to be a Premier League player. And what is going on? And sometimes, I mean, we had that with our squad. All right, it was Leicester. It was very Scottishly imported, that squad in the Championship, wasn't it, Chris? And
it was, yes.
You remember it, the Levine days, where we ended up going down under Holloway. But sometimes you need that clear out. You need them individuals, that lazy player like maybe Richarlison is that isn't doing it anymore, and you need to get them off your wage bill. And
and it can, like I say,
guys.
It can be done. It can be good for you. 2 games coming up. We're going to be looking at them, and we'll be back straight after this. Indeed, you want anything Leicester Till I Die merchandise, it's all at www.leicestertilldie.com/shop. You can get sweatshirts, t-shirts, polo shirts, caps, pens. We haven't quite got into the underwear yet, but hey, you never know. You never know. The next game, the next 2 games, we might as well say goodbye to Steve now, but it means we're going to have a look at Spurs hosting Newcastle, and that can only mean one thing.
It's time for the Daily Spurs.
Oh, one bad thing about international football, I've missed doing the Daily Spurs. Spurs, it is now 14 years, 31 days, 4 hours, 48 minutes and 20 seconds since you last won a trophy. Because I know you're really into that, Tottenham, and you're wondering. But
you need to calm down with saying these, because eventually they'll start messaging you asking if they can get a trophy for this.
Well, at least I'd have one in the cabinet then.
Yeah.
Steve, I know which way you're going to go with this, but just, you know, humour me for a second. I mean, have we seen the Newcastle bubble burst?
I don't think so. I think, they've still been playing consistent. I think they're still going to be playing the same way till the end of the season. They want to show, everybody that they are the Newcastle and they are going in the right direction. They are starting to get a togetherness, starting to play as a team rather than individuals like they were before. So, no, I think Newcastle will be strong all the way now to the end of the season, and I just hope they do the dirty on them tomorrow. This weekend.
So you're obviously going for a Newcastle. What about draw, Brad, or do you think Spurs? I mean, Spurs, if you look at their recent form, they beat West Ham like we were just discussing. They beat Brighton, but no disrespect, most teams seem to be able to do that these days. Somehow they managed to lose to Manchester United. They stuffed Everton. They stuffed Leeds. Is this again, or are Newcastle going to find their form again?
No, I don't think so. I'm kind of in agreement with you. I don't think it's entirely burst. I think what you'll get from Newcastle is you'll probably get now a few games where they kind of have a little bit of a burnout. They feel like the job's done, because it was an exhausting job, no matter what caliber of players and how much money they threw around to fix the problem. It was done, and it happened at a very pivotal point when there was only 1 or 2 points between the likes of Burnley, Norwich, and that. And we're going back to when they had like 10, 11, 12, 13 points that pushed the 4 clubs. And they are the only one that when they got on that run, they stayed on it. It's also very exhausting. But we all remember what happened to us in our Great Escape. The greatest of great escape statistically.
Yeah.
Just to point that out. Everybody wants to say that certain teams surviving this season would be like West Brom. Well, we did it better, and with a lot more class. But I just think, not for a case of taking their foot off the gas entirely, because I don't think Newcastle do that, because they played well in the games against Chelsea they lost, and Everton just turned up for once out of 10 times. It seems to be with Frank Lampard. I think Tottenham are on a very good run of form. I mean, you look at the results, literally right there. I mean, they're picking up the wins and the comfortable wins where they needed to be against the likes of Brighton. I can see there Everton 5-0, Leeds as well 4-0. They had a whirlwind game against Manchester United. They just don't like to go to Manchester and play Manchester clubs, it seems, because they always seem to have thrilling games against them. But everybody else, they've done what they've needed to do, and they've done it with some comfort. And I just don't see that trend being broken, especially with it being at home. If it was at Newcastle, I'd probably go somewhere else. I'd probably say a draw, or maybe even push towards Newcastle causing upset. But because it's at Tottenham, I'm going to go.
Scaringly, I'm agreeing with you, because, like you say, it does. I mean, of all grounds, if there's a ground where if the crowd's behind you, you should do well. It's going to be, St James's Park.
Why couldn't you have just done a Steve, but pick Norwich and Watford as your team? You're always back to winning, and just got loads of points.
I'm being honest. I mean, for me, one of the most exciting things this season, and I know not certainly not for Steve, but is the Arsenal-Tottenham battle, because I think we're probably looking at one of those two taking fourth. 3 points in it. Arsenal have got it at the moment, but we see there 4 wins in 5 for Spurs. I think Conte's just, if Conte can get them into the Champions League, my God, it'll be a god to them again. It's
get the statue ready.
Yeah, well, almost. I mean, well, obviously not going to go any further this season, but I've got to say, I've got to see a Tottenham win on this one. I'm sorry, Steve. I know you'll hate me forevermore, and I'm off your Christmas card list. But I've got to. Maybe I don't know whether I hate Spurs any more than I hate Arsenal. I don't like either of them, to be honest with you. But there we go. I think it will be for me a Tottenham win, which leads us very nicely onto the last game of the weekend, which is Monday night, I do believe, on the old Sky. Again, we know where you're going, Steve, but again, from Palace's point of view, how did, again, what looked so promising at the start, and we could say this about a few teams, West Ham, Brighton, Crystal Palace, looked good at the start, but they're falling into that mid-table mediocrity again.
I don't think Vieira's sussed out his strengths yet, his team's strengths. I think he's trying to get him to play like Arsenal, like Tottenham, like Chelsea. And I think, he's got to start looking at the strengths of Crystal Palace. I know the pitch being so small when they're at home, which makes it a lot better for them. But they are a good away team as well, where they do a lot of attacking. And I think when he finds out Crystal Palace's strengths, they'll be, a team to press for things. But
yes,
he's gone back to the same way as the top six, whatever. He's playing a certain way that the top six play, and I think that's not giving Palace the edge, because they have got some very good attacking players.
Yeah.
And they need to play to their strengths.
But so you're going for Palace, though. Obviously, you don't.
Going for Palace, yeah. Going for Palace.
Yeah. Brad, I mean, I didn't think Palace would do well this season with a new manager and a lot of players going out and ending the contract. He surprised me with how well he'd done. Again, are we expecting too much too soon from managers when they take over these clubs?
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, with the greatest respect, we kind of gave him what other fans gave the same respect to Claudio Ranieri when he was announced as our manager. We were already kicking him out the door before he was sat in the manager's chair, weren't we? A lot of fans were. Don't just mean us three as individuals. It was probably a lot of people that had him down as first manager getting sacked for that month. Because Watford are sacking one every other six weeks, so they don't count. But in terms of normal clubs that actually tend to stick by managers for a year or so, or a couple of seasons or whatever, he was probably on the list of next. He'll be the first one out the door, sort of thing, or one of the first ones. And to be fair, whilst Steady Eddie, Roy balanced them out and did that, it wasn't thrilling, was it? And they've been a bit more thrilling. They've had a bit more bite about them this season. I know Steve says he hasn't quite figured that out, but then you look at their results and they got their traditional nicked a point off Man City. They love playing Man City. It seems though, no matter who's in charge, they seem to always be able to play Man City. I mean, if he was to give them a bogey team, Man City, you wouldn't have ever said it was Crystal Palace, but there we are. And then you look, I mean, this was before the Leeds game. They went to Molineux, got a big 3 points. All right, they got a draw against, Burnley, but it's still, they haven't lost in the last 4, and they've picked up some vital points, and they're probably the better of that middle half table sides at the moment. They're probably more appealing. And when Arsenal do tend to drop points, it tends to be against a team like this. And I'm going to say that it's a draw. Just by looking at that, they seem to do better at Palace when they're away from home, and maybe the pressure of the close encounter crowd not being on their back if it doesn't go well helps them a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to say that they get something from this, and I'm going to go for a draw because I think Arsenal probably drop points. Yeah.
Okay. You're going to hate me. You really are. Ant says here, well, Chris, the Arsenal game was on my birthday, and Arsenal never lost when they played on my birthday, as far as I can remember.
Oh, you've jinxed it. Get in. He's jinxed it. I changed my mind. Palace win.
And he said he didn't see for one I didn't see Vieira staying in charge for so long. I think he was always going to get the season, to be honest with you. But yeah, have a happy birthday on Monday, mate. Hope it goes as well as mine. If you get a drink, remember, not too much ice. That's the thing. I mean,
No,
Arsenal.
about the ice.
Arsenal have got that 4th place, and it is theirs to lose. I do honestly think it is theirs to lose. They're there. If they keep doing what they're doing, they should be 4th. And he will have done a great job. He will have done. I know, he hasn't got the I would say Arteta hasn't got the hassle of European football. Say hassle, but you know what I mean. And it's going to be a draw for me. It's going to have to be a draw because I just think Palace, they need to do something, and you just don't know which Arsenal are going to turn up. Yes, they've sort of won 4 out of 5 and they're on a great winning streak, but I just have a feeling it's at Palace, and I just have a feeling that it might actually just nick it here. So I'm going to go for a draw. Anthony, I do apologise. It's your birthday on Monday, so you have a good one, mate. I hope you're celebrating, but for me, Palace, I think, are going to sneak the point. So that is the games that we've covered. Match week 31. Well, for everybody who's played all the games, so we all went for a Liverpool win. Brighton is chosen by Steve. Brad couldn't decide, and he went for a draw.
No, my lawyers won't let me decide.
And I agreed with him. We both agreed on Man City beating Burnley. Brad talked me into it, so it was his own fault. But Steve went for the draw. Chelsea, Brentford. Again, Steve went for a draw. Brad and me both went for Chelsea. Leeds, Southampton. Brad and Steve both thought this is going to be Leeds. I fancied Southampton coming away with a point. We all thought Wolves Villa would be a draw. And Brad, it's been a long time since Brad hasn't gone for a Leicester win, but he hasn't this time. He's gone for a draw. I'm a little bit worried. I'm not going to lie to you, Steve. You have worried me a little bit that you've gone for Leicester there, because it's not like you to get Leicester's results right. So I am worried about that one. But you have gone for Leicester. Sorry?
Depending on their attitude.
Well,
I think
exactly.
I think it's the right time to play Man United, and it's the right time to get at Maguire if he's playing.
Totally. I mean, whether without getting onto the Maguire topic for too long again, whether being back at Man United, they will stand by him, the fans. But when you see a lot of these shows and podcasts and social media, Man United fans aren't pleased with Harry Maguire. So, if we get an early goal and it's Maguire's fault, we could see a rebellion there. West Ham, Everton, we all went for West Ham. No surprise. Spurs, Newcastle for Steve. Spurs for me and Brad, and Palace to beat Arsenal with Steve's, when again we both went for the draw. So it could all be down to that Leeds game for us, Brad.
Oh, it could be, sir.
And Steve's topic of never vote going for a Spurs or Arsenal win may yet come true. And it'd be like that Ranieri. I'll treat you to a pizza, Steve, if that ever comes true. But hey, thanks very much, everybody, for joining. It's nice to be back. Proper football's back. None of this international mamby-pamby stuff. But I thank you, and I will see you next week. Good luck to everybody. Steve, as always, mate, it is a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on and giving up your time and doing this. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you next week.
See you, Steve.
Bye-bye. Thanks to Steve there. Luke had just, we will beat Palace. Well, yeah, we will see. Obviously, we will see. He's gone here, but he says, Steve, would you ever pick an Arsenal win? He's still here. Would you ever, Steve?
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. Sorry, Anthony. No way.
I knew that, and I'm thinking like, Steve, don't go. Stay in the chat a second, you know. But no, Anthony,
He's never got time. He's ever got time. I'll tell him why.
I tell you what, Anthony. Hell would freeze over before Steve went for an Arsenal win. But I love him for it. I love him. Thanks a lot, Steve. Take care, mate.
Cheers.
And thanks a lot, Brad. And I will see you on Saturday evening.
Yes, you will. In a while, need to do a post-match. We will see if there's a segment going on at the end. But I've spoke to you about that, haven't I? I've told you about that. So.
Oh yes, yeah.
So, but hopefully
we'll still have a full discussion, though. I am sure.
No doubt we will, mate. Hopefully talking about 3 points. I'll take 3 points over the point in this any day of the week, mate. Trust me.
Exactly. Wouldn't we all? And yeah, I think there's a good time to play Manchester United. But as Steve, you could say, well,
yeah, but less in the season,
Leicester.
when you hear the words, it's a good time to play this insert team name here. Leicester go hold my beer, don't they? And
exactly, 100%, mate. But hey, thanks very much, mate, and I will see you Saturday evening.
I shall see you then, mate.
Oh, I tell you what, before you go, and I do apologise. At Full Time Focus, that is where people can find you on Twitter.
Yeah, that is.
And you've got a new podcast coming out.
Yeah, I do. So I've got the first episode of it already planned. If you want to check me out, if you probably might already be subscribed to it because the channel is just my old channel. I've just rebranded it. It's called A Matter of Opinion. It's on my Twitter feed. You just find it, go on my news feed on my Twitter. You'll find the video up there. I've figured I've kind of just been working with it for the past week to figure out how to record it and then post it on there. So the intro's on there. It's basically exactly what it says on the tin. It's a bit of Ron Seal. It's exactly what it says on the tin. I've got a few guests lined up. I've got Chloe or at British Tea Hater. I've got at Devils Rising.
Who would have ever thought you'd have had Chloe on?
Well, you see, the thing is, the whole point of this show is of a matter of interest. And well, it's actually a matter of opinion. But if the interest is there, and Chloe happens to be a fan of both of these, I've got Reese on as well at Devil Rising, and I never remember his Twitter handle, but I've got Doug on as well, which is Enroll. I can never pronounce it. I know he's got an E in it. I do apologise, Doug. I should have wrote it down to advertise it. But yeah, they're the first guests on my podcast.
And what is your YouTube channel called?
It's called A Matter of Opinion, and the first episode we'll be recording some point next week, and it'll be Marvel versus DC. Which one's better? It's just us having a chat about them, and just all three of them plighting the ship for whichever one they feel better. Yeah. Will all three of them say Marvel? Probably. Will one of them say DC? We'll find out. That's the whole point of the concept of the channel, mate.
I used to work with somebody who was a huge DC fan, and he absolutely loved Batman. Bradford. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Bradford. He absolutely loved Batman, and we had some very interesting discussions because, of course, I'm a big Marvel fan. Brad, thanks very much, mate. Stay in the chat. I'm going to ask you something in a second. So, all the best, bud, and I'll see you Saturday evening.
I'll see you then, mate.
Cheers, bud. Thank you. So, thanks to Steve. Thanks to Brad. We got through another show, all alive. And we've got so many shows. 5 o'clock tomorrow. 4:30 tomorrow. We have got the World Cup draw. So we're going. Are you interested in who England gets? I am now. I'm going to be honest with you. I am now. We're in the final. I want to see who we're going to get. The playoff. The way that they've got it sorted now. FIFA are being a bit like UEFA is. They're doing it so that the big clubs automatically get through. Ha ha, Italy. But it is what it is. So I want to see who it wins live at 4:30. It means the Man United preview for me is going to be back to 8 o'clock. And I'll be joined by Darius, a Man United fan, and Craig and my normal co-host on that. And then obviously we will be back on the Saturday to cover the match. So 4:30 will be, or 5 o'clock, I should say, sorry. We're going to be doing the watch along and then the post-match with Brad afterwards. So much going on. So I want to say thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining in. And if you've been listening to this on the podcast, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I will see you tomorrow night at 4:30 or tomorrow afternoon at 4:30, depending which way you want to look at it. Take care, stay safe, and don't do anything I wouldn't enjoy. Good night.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.